Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. Welcome back to the Football Terrace and the Done Deal Show. Lots to talk about this morning. Arsenal completing what I think is a very important deal, not just for this season, but the coming years ahead, and it stops that rumour mill from picking up. We're looking at Victor Gyokeres. There's talk that he could be the next big transfer done. We're going to take a look at those stories and, of course, get your views and opinions. Mark Geuhi to Liverpool will not disappear. The big Liverpool journalists, the big Liverpool aggregators continually sharing and promoting this news. How close is it? We've heard from the journalists, we've heard from the panelists, but this morning we want to hear from you. Plus, Newcastle, we spoke about this on the Top 6 show yesterday, okay? 3 bids totaling £125 million, reportedly all 3 rejected. We're going to talk about that and much more this morning on the Done Deal Show. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Make sure you're subscribing, especially if you like what we do. If you don't like what we do, my view is leave now, because you don't want to be here and the community don't want you either. Let's go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Very excited to go through this news with you today, to get your views, to get your opinions. Let me know where you're watching from around the world. You know, I always like to see that. I was actually looking at a little holiday myself today. Anyone, I want your opinion. Has anybody been to Portofino? I'm going to butcher the way it's probably meant to sound in Italian, but that is where I want to go. Let me know if any of you have been there. Look, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what is going on there. But good morning to each and every single one of you. I'm going to put your live chat up on the screen so you can see it as well. Good morning to you, Lou. I see you. Who else do I see here? I see Justin. I see Maximum. Big up yourself, Relento, watching from Nigeria. Mr. MB from Sydney, Australia. A lot of Australian family, actually. My grandmother and her brothers were all evacuated there during World War II. A few came back and a few stayed. Beautiful place. Wonderful people. Well, my experience has always been that. So big up yourself. Judge Mo Raid. Big up to Judge Mo's audience that have come across here. I appreciate that. I didn't even know Judge Mo was live. I didn't check anything, but big up yourselves. Appreciate that. Well, hello to his community. And we kind of overlap community as well. You know, Judge Mo, very much part of the fabric and furniture and family of the Football Terrace. So good morning to all of you. Appreciate you all being here today. Now. Lots to talk about on the show today. Big up the Aussie, the Aussie Gooner. Big up yourself, my friend. Where do my family live in Australia? Well, Torquay is, I think, the place where a lot of them live, but they're spread across now. Melbourne, Sydney, all over. My great uncle, God rest his soul, John, he loved Australia. He stayed. He went there as a kid and stayed there, and worked his way up in the Olympic Committee. He was very much integral with putting on the Sydney Games in the year 2000. So, yeah, like my family and Australia are very much intertwined. Like my nan, God rest her soul, she used to really struggle during the Ashes. She really did, in terms of which country to give her loyalty to, because I think she was so grateful for the fact that Australia took her and her brothers in. They lived in East London during the Blitz and couldn't stay. So, yeah, always important that. The Aussie accent is goated. Yeah, I like the Aussie accent. So look, let's go into some of these stories today. And I wanted to start with the first bit of Arsenal news, which surrounds Myles Lewis-Skelly. Arsenal got that deal complete. And I think that this is so important. When you look at the summer that Arsenal have had so far, there are going to be some Arsenal fans that are disappointed. And look, I don't understand every facet of that. I think some of the claims have been exaggerated, but I also get the want and the need for that dopamine hit. I understand wanting to see, the striker just decided, and hopefully it's the one that you want, and the left wing attack done. But a lot of the fringe work has been done already. Obviously, Zubamendi, excellent signing. I'm just never going to turn around and deny that that's not an absolutely tip-top deal indeed. Now, getting Myles Lewis-Skelly locked into a new contract, I don't think you can understate the importance of that at this particular moment. Because one, I think he's very much a integral part to the way Arsenal now play. He's a kid, okay, in the context of football. He is a fledgling player. However, and what's very important to remember is that he's an integral part of the first team. He's not on the periphery. He's not getting a 20-minute appearance here, a start there, and then you don't see him for a month. This man is integral to the first team. And some of the biggest clubs in Europe started to circulate and started to, try and talk to the players' agents, try and talk to the intermediaries to see whether or not a Trent Alexander-Arnold could be pulled off. It's become all the rage. And it's working in both directions. Players now are getting decent buyout clauses. They're getting gentlemen's agreements to leave early. A lot of players, Mbappe and Trent and potentially Konate at Liverpool, are no longer signing new deals if it may price them out of a move. So I think it was always seen as something very doable for Arsenal. But I think it's important that they've got it done because, one, it secures the player. It secures the asset as well from a business standpoint. But also, and probably more importantly, the rumour mill won't start to build up any kind of steam. Gabriel also tied down to that new deal as well. So an excellent piece of business in the backdrop of the summer to get one. Listen, I'm a United fan. I'm pretty sure Kobbie Mainoo's going to stay, but I still want to see that deal done. There's still those rumours of him leaving and the negativity that brings dissipates, evaporates, if you've watched Harry Potter, is gone. Poof. Poof. All gone the second those new deals get signed, or at least for 2 to 3 years. You can put that on the back burner. So excellent piece of business there from Arsenal. I'm sure Gooners, often when I see news for all of the top 6 clubs, I like to read the replies. I told you guys yesterday, I went on to all the, before Arsenal were linked to and got Norgard done, I saw Spurs aggregators sharing that it's going to cost £45 million to get him. Most Tottenham fans were replying saying slightly above what I'd pay, but I'm still happy to do it. And then when Arsenal get him for 9 million, I just thought there was something poetically funny about that. But that's just me. I think I like to read the comments. For instance, someone put an old tweet out of Ornstein's from 2012 when Man United signed for Van Persie, and the amount of people saying it would be a flop and it would be a bad deal and he would regret it. I didn't even know that tweet existed. I saw it last night. I love reading the replies because we all get things right, we all get things wrong, and it's funny in hindsight. And I don't think you've got a handful of content creators that take other people's opinions, whether they get them right or wrong, far too seriously, it's an obsession. That for me isn't what content creation is. Let me say that. That's what some people like to create content about. I like to have a laugh and a joke fan channel review where we laugh and joke at things people say or do, but it's all done with the backdrop of supporting the community. I'm not too sure you could say that for everybody else, but they're entitled to do what they want. It's a free world, free country. Well, most places are free world and free country, but there we go. But I digress. I didn't really read the comments of Arsenal fans on the Lewis-Skelly deal because there cannot be a single gooner on planet Earth that isn't over the moon with this news. So I didn't bother read it. I thought there was no point in reading it because every single Arsenal fan worth his salt is absolutely buzzing that this young man has just committed his future to the club. And you've got to remember, Real Madrid were making calls. Real Madrid were looking. Real Madrid wanted him. And for me, I think that will be ignored by a lot of negative Nellies online, on TikTok, on YouTube, on X. Oh, it doesn't even matter. No, for me, it's very, very important indeed. Super chats come in here from Krishna. Big up Krishna. He says, I'm buzzing if Eze Rodrigo and a striker come in with Zubi and Norgard and I'm going to say the name wrong again, Mascara. we can really mount a serious challenge for the Premier League. Like I said it last night on my channel, Terry Flewers TV. Still thinking of a better name for it than that. I don't know. Maybe one of you can come up with a creative name. I'm sure there'll be a few offensive ones as well, but that's up to you. Look, if you do bring in Eze, Rodrigo, and either Sesko or Gyokeres, said it yesterday, that is a bomb. That is a bomb that is thrown into this title race, because right now, I think the general consensus about Arsenal is you'll keep pace with the top teams, but maybe fade away. Some people are saying you're going to completely fall off. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans online say, when you look at Norgard, Zubimendi, Kepa coming in, the sort of decline of Martinelli and Odegaard last year, there are some gooners that think you're going to collapse, you're going to fall away, you're going to capitulate, and it's fair opinion. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, and we'll see how that all plays out. But I think, as to your super chat, Krishna, if you sign those players that you've mentioned with what you've already brought in, it throws a bomb into that. Or a cat amongst the pigeons is another example. Chaos. Because suddenly, and I'm talking, someone said to me last night, what do you mean by throwing a bomb into the situation? Well, I don't mean literally. And if you don't understand an analogy, again, stop watching the internet, touch grass, read a book. But for me, it's a case of, I want to make sure I explain this in the right way. Right now, people are pretty set in their predictions. And it's Liverpool are probably going to win it. City look like they're going to be really strong. Arsenal are either out of it already, being written off, or they'll fade towards the end. Where this throws chaos into the mix, i.e. throws a bomb amongst that title race, is I think people are going to start to, I don't know now. If they're pressed on an answer, you'll see a little bit of panic. I don't know, maybe. Because you're not going to want to write Arsenal off if they do that business. You're not going to want to write them off, because people do, for right or wrong, they really care about being right nowadays when it comes to their footballing opinion. I think it's like a badge of honor when you get something correct. I will say that to everybody, though. It doesn't matter if you get things right or wrong. And I'll give you an example, okay? And I'll always use my friend Lee Gunner in this example. When he gets things right, people that hate him don't go, in fairness, mate, you were correct. Some will, but the lion's share go, don't care, idiot. People that hate me despise what I do. Don't like how I make videos, what I talk about. And that's fine. People don't have to like it. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. When I get things spot on, Haaland's goal scoring record as an example, when I speak, keeping Ten Hag will be a disaster for the season. When I said Arsenal would become title contenders, when I said Chelsea would make the top 4 beginning of last season, your haters don't then also turn up on streams and go, do you know what, man? You were right. They don't. They just move on to the next thing to hate on you about. So my advice to people is, don't worry about being correct. Worry about your logic being sound. And what I'll say this, when your logic is sound, let's just, if you want to be a content creator and you want to grow your following, and you want to, whether you want to have a channel like an AFTV, whether you want to be a sort of a singular voice like Henry Talks Football, if you want to be Mark Goldbridge, True Jewel, whatever it may be, just think about your logic being sound. The people that do the best are not the ones who get the most predictions right. They're the people that when they tell you what they think, they break it down and you go, and then again, the sensible people, which is the majority, go, I disagree that Haaland will flop, but I understand the point being made. That's what you should be focusing on. You really should. More than injuries, Terry, we are ill-disciplined. This cost us. We drew 12 games from winning positions last season. That's 24 points. No, exactly. I think you're going to be better. I think you're going to be much better than that next year. Haters are going to hate. Unfortunately, it's their nature. I think what we can do is give them plenty of hate. Is like dangling keys. Yeah, look, I just look at it this way. Like, people don't have to like what I do. They really, really don't. Equally, I don't like what everybody else does. I don't spend that much. Well, I used to spend a lot of time. Like Mark Goldbridge said something this morning that I disagreed with. He said, and we're going to move on to some of these transfers in a minute, but he said that Manchester United They spent 3 weeks negotiating with Brentford, and they're going to end up paying what they wanted in the first place. I disagree, because I remember profusely Duncan Castles, I think Paul O'Keefe, definitely Fabrizio Romano, all said the starting point for Brentford is 70 million with that plus add-ons. So if United walk in and get in for 55, 60 plus 4 or 5 million in add-ons, we have negotiated their price down. And we've paid above what we initially bid, but we've still got it below. So, but me and Mark disagree on that. I'm not going to sit there and start casing into him because he sees it differently or he has a different opinion. I just think that's not, again, maybe it's because I'm pushing 40. I just think I ain't got the time for this. I want to do my streams. I want to finish and feel relaxed. I want to sit in the sunshine in the garden with the kids. And that's life for me. I'm very happy with that. But ironically, that seems to trigger more people. It's kind of weird, but there we go. Listen, hit that like button for us this morning, please. Make sure you are subscribing. Now, I want to talk Victor Gyokeres next, because I know this saga is starting to drain on some people. It isn't for me. I love it. Right? I absolutely love it. Now, I want to read something that Fabrizio Romano said to begin with. I think it's really important to read this out. And I think I've can I go back and find it? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? There it is. There they are, right? I think. Have I found them? Yes, here we go. It says, the conversation for both Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyokeres is still ongoing, with daily contact between all parties involved. Arsenal are still on it, so let's see what they will decide to do. Get ready, Arsenal fans. It's been a busy summer already, and the best is yet to come, because Arsenal want to do way more. Now, what I think is really intriguing about that is because this is linked into Manchester United too, and we're going to break this down. We're going to get your views and opinions. I know not everybody trusts Fabrizio or everybody likes him, and that's also fair. But I do. This is why I've said to Arsenal fans, stay calm for now, because I think all your big. I mean, you've already got Zubimendi, which is massive. It's as good a signing as anybody else has made, position versus position, so far this window. I put it in that same category as Wirtz's, as Cunha's, as Cherki's. Now, he's not the same player. He doesn't play as advanced as them, but I think he's going to be as integral to Arsenal and as important to Arsenal as those players will be for their respective clubs. But you're going to sign a number 9. I think it's going to happen. I think you're going to get a very good one. You're going to get a left-sided attacker, I think. I think you're going to get a really good one. Whether or not you get that left-sided attacker plus the Eze link remains to be seen, and we'll be getting the boys' opinion on that straight facts 3:30 today. But I think Arsenal fans should remain very, very calm with an element of excitement. I really do think you should. But that's just my opinion. Having said that, I'm not telling you how to feel per se. If you want to be angry and scream and shout, go for it. And the good thing about being angry all summer and then being happy at the end of it is that you still get to join the party. The difference is someone that's saying stay calm all summer, if you don't get the right deals, they'll get dog's abuse for 12 months. So it is a little bit easier being on the angry side of the fence rather than the calm side, because everyone just, if you're wrong after being angry, everyone's in a good mood and enjoys the party. So look, it's one of those things for me. You're still going to do well. Now, what's really interesting, really interesting is the news that's starting to come out in the last 24 hours. Now, I'm getting excited, but I need to stay calm. So I'm only practicing, by the way, what I preach. I'm not telling gooners to stay calm while I'm climbing the walls with frustration. And the Daily Mirror this morning, along with a couple of Portuguese outlets, have said very similar things, that Man United are now back in pole position to sign Victor Gyokeres. Now, I know straight away people are like, it's the Mirror, you can't trust it. It's this Portuguese press, you can't trust it. Well, I'm not sitting here saying it's the cast iron truth. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that Spurs had made that bid for Mbeumo, like the Mirror suggested. It may have been a suggestion via an intermediary they'd be willing to pay that amount, but I don't think they made an official bid. Of course, for a bit of banter, I went along with it so I could do the double dip rejection situation. But are Manchester United now back in pole position? The only way that is true, the only way that is the case is if what Ben Jacobs said yesterday, exclusively on the Football Terrace, is true. If what Sam McBell on the Arsenal Latte channel, I forgot the complete name of it. Sorry, I apologize. Great. I've listened to the podcast. Very, very good. Very well put together. Is that if Arsenal have made that progress with Sesko and they've got the deal where they want it, their belief is that Arsenal will sign Sesko. So if that's the case, and that has progressed in the last couple of days, then this claim from Portugal, this claim from the Daily Mirror that Man United are back in pole position holds some water. Now, Liverpool are rumoured to be... Oh, is that what you're saying? The Mirror just quoting what the Portuguese paper have said. Fair enough. Honestly, I'm only looking at the aggregation of this today. I'm not surprised. But again, if that is true and if that is the case, they could be right. The same as, again, it's not always right verbatim. When the Portuguese press said that United had been rejected and that his preference was Arsenal, it was called a lie. And then there was a large chunk of truth in that when the stories came out. There was a slight retraction, and not a rejection, but a priority. But I think that's the PR element, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. And I'm really comfortable with it. I don't mind being rejected and then picked later on in a business sense. I don't mind that. I'm not emotional about it. The only time I get emotional in business is people that are meant to be on my side of the fence, or inside the tent spitting out, or suddenly stand on the outside spitting in. I wouldn't have that. However, there could be some truth to this. And the reason why there could be some truth is there is a fervent belief in many quarters of the media, in the footballing community, that if Arsenal get the price for Sesko where they want it at around 70 million euros, they will buy him over Gyokeres. And often in the media, the media are still behind once they publish a story where the situation actually lies. Because an outlet or a journalist may get told something on a Tuesday, by the time they've verified it through 2 or 3 other places and they release a story on a Thursday, the world could move on from there. It can move very, very quickly. Now, look, I hope this story is true. I hope. And do you know what we'll do? You can go into, our members have got we've got new emojis now for our members. And I'm going to post the copium emoji. Where is it? I'm going to spam the copium emoji. That's what I'm doing right now. If you're not a member, you're not going to be able to use it. You can become a member, though, to support the Terrace. It is pure copium. 100% is copium. Hopium. Mix it together. It is a cocktail of hope and trying to force this into existence. I hope the story is true. Because if Man United could add Victor Gyokeres to Mbeumo, and by the way, I was saying in Mbeumo for weeks. Then I got told again it was in Mbeumo. Now I'm saying in Mbeumo. I'm being told it's in Mbeumo. Brian, if we can add Gyokeres to Cunha and Brian, for me personally, I'm so excited about the season. Man United's season will go from being a mid to high mid-table team to a side pushing for European positions. That is without even knowing what we're doing with the goalkeeper, the midfield, the centre-backs, the full-backs. That strike force will score goals, in my personal opinion. So, yes, I hope this is true. I hope this is correct. But that's me hoping it's true. Is it? Who knows? Who knows? No one. Do you know why no one knows? Because at this particular moment, Arsenal are negotiating both deals right down to the wire. No one knows 100%. Everything has got an element of guesswork in it. And I'm not going to lie. I just wish my team wasn't involved, so I could enjoy it that little bit more. I really, really do. I really do wish that. It'd be amazing. Terry, house on the line. Where does Gyokeres go? My mind's changed. So I was going Arsenal up until yesterday. But with Fabrizio sharing that Sesko update, with, I don't know, because I'm going to end up, no, I'm going to just say it's going Arsenal. I'm not even going to put it out there into the ether. Oh, but Terry's not being genuine. I am being genuine. I'm being genuine to my belief in the football gods. So read into that what you want. You don't need me to say it. If you've got a brain, if you have a brain, you'll understand it. I actually had a DM yesterday from somebody saying, Terry, why have you put a here we go on some of your new on your new channel onto the thumbnails? And I just responded with the word foreshadowing. And he come back and said, I get it now. Love that. Sometimes think, you know. What's that great meme? I don't think. I know. I don't think. I know. Right? And that's me. That's sometimes just don't think about these things. Just understand them. You know what I mean? So me not giving you a straight answer is a straight answer if your brain works. It's as simple as that. You'll get it. What's Czech Romano? Oh, look at that. United done deal. Tom Heaton over the line. Love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, and Rude been sacked. Well, he says he's left with mutual consent. That means you get sacked. I'm very consistent when it comes to that. Gyokeres to Arsenal will wear the number 10. Just watch. I'm a United fan, though. He could end up there. And as I say, whichever way I'm going in, I'm on a 40-60 split the whole time. What I won't say is impossible it's Sesko or it's impossible it's Gyokeres. That in itself would be the guess. That would be the exaggeration of opinion in my personal view. It really, really would be. It really would be. Harvey Elliott is a better footballer and scorer. Would play better than Jota as striker at Liverpool. Should keep him at the club. We're going to speak about this story more, straight facts. But there's a loose link today with him going to Chelsea. So I just want to get the boys' opinion whether they would take him or not. This year from the CM Journal says Gyokeres only wants Arsenal and hopes negotiations will go well between Arsenal and Sporting so he can fly to London and complete his medical. Yeah, and Simon, this is why I'm saying whatever direction I'm going in, I'm leaving the door open on the other. Some will say, Terry, that's just you sitting on the fence so you can say you are right. Well, that's because I am right. It literally, at this point, it could literally be one of them. Anyone saying 100% is going to be X or 100% is going to be Y, you may guess it correctly, but you're wrong. It isn't 100% either because they're working on both. They rate both highly. And it's been well documented now that it isn't like we've got a preference and then everybody else is cannon fodder. It's we've got 2 or 3 that we think could transform our attack. And we're going to work on these 2. And whichever one we get the best deal on, we'll be happy with leading our line. It's very different. And I think what happens a lot of the time is that people like to ignore this type of stuff so they can push their own narrative. But anyone who says 100% is this player, they're guessing at that, which is fine. You're allowed to guess. But you're not fucking Nostradamus. It's as simple as that. Terry, even Ben Jacobs and Ornstein know the real truth who's coming to Arsenal. I don't think they do. Well, they do and they don't. I mean, Ben believes if Arsenal get the price right for Sesko, they'll pick him. So that's his belief that's to be true. What he doesn't know is whether or not Arsenal can get the price to where they want it to be. So therefore, it may be Gyokeres who comes in. Now, I've seen some people, that's sitting on the fence. It's not sitting on the fence in any capacity. That's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. Nobody really knows. Terry, one thing is true. Arsenal are controlling the striker market. Once they move, it will have a domino effect. I completely agree. I absolutely couldn't agree with you more than that. Totally and utterly agree with you. They're holding up the market. They shouldn't feel bad about that either. They've got to do what's right for their club. Aaron talks Arsenal here. Hope you're well, mate. He says there couldn't be a worse signing for Arsenal than Sesko. Takes the club backwards 2+ years. Look, I mean, you could be right. You could be right in that. I disagree. I think he's a very good player. I think he will do an excellent job at Arsenal in the coming years. I think he'll have a much bigger impact year 1 than people are giving him credit for. That being said, I could be wrong. I'm very open to that because it's a prediction or a guess. What I'd like to ask you, Aaron, and we're going to open up the line soon for the call in. So if you want to phone in, mate, more than welcome. Because I know I can give a straight answer. I'd probably have to like talk it through in my head to get it right. But my question to everybody saying he's a bad signing is, are you willing to go on record and be objective and open for subjectivity change by setting a standard that if he hits it, you'll go, I was wrong. He hasn't set us back and I'm behind him. For instance, I think he'd do a good job for Arsenal. United also loosely linked to him. I think he'd do a good job for us. But I would turn around and say, if his hold-up play is awful and he's losing the ball with his first touch, 4 to 5 times per game, if he's creating less than half a chance on average per game, so that'll be like he only creates sort of, I don't know, 10 to 12 to 15 chances all season, maybe 20. We'll put that up a little higher. If he scores less than 10 goals, then I would say it's been a poor signing. And I'll be honest with you, I'd do that over 2 years because I think you've always got to give somebody a couple of years. I'm very happy to say if that's kind of his output and performances, and we could add some more metrics into that, I would say I got it wrong. My question to Arsenal fans and rivals saying he's a bad signing is, what did he have to hit for you to say I was wrong? Because that tells me whether you're giving a genuine opinion or whether you're going to run an agenda. Even though your agenda may start from a genuine opinion, is it about what's best for Arsenal, or is it I'm going to ride out till I die on this one? Because again, I think you'll do a very good job, but I could be wrong. I'm open to it. I'd love to get the opinions on that. It'd be a really good conversation to have on the show. And I'm sure the audience would enjoy listening to that. Now, before we open up the airways for people to phone in today and have 20 GA in 2 years, yeah, that's nowhere near. I mean, that would just be awful. I mean, even unless he was like orchestrating the team and the linchpin in the attack, but wasn't getting great output, that type of output is such a flop, because I think Rasmus Højlund does more than that. And when you're a number 9, your output has to be factored into how good or bad you are. Has to be. It cannot be ignored, your GA, as a number 9. Yeah. Bro, is this the same Flowers guy? Oh, Flowers. Do you know that I used to get teased at that when I was at school by 7-year-old girls who told us that Nico Williams was signing for Arsenal? No, I didn't. I may have covered stories that said it was happening, but Flowers didn't say, I've got a bomb, just been updated, here we go, Arsenal are signing him. I didn't personally say that. I may, because I don't remember what I said on all those videos, I may have said this seems like a credible story and I think Arsenal might get him, but that's an opinion piece. For your lie, my friend, you are now blocked from the channel because that was never said by us. And like I'm going to start doing now to people who try to criticize my opinions, but lies get you banned because my community are sick and tired of it. There we go. This here says frustrating. My favorite channel is a Mank. Big up Terry, Cunha, and Burma and Victor with Amorim will be well equipped for a Champions League spot. Yeah, I think there will be a chance for Champions League spot if we're able to bring them in. There'll be a chance, but that would include improving the goalkeeper, adding more press resistance, high quality players into the midfield. Very, very key indeed. If Sesko and Gyokeres have some pride, why would they join a club who don't want to pay? If Sesko joins Arsenal, why would United want Gyokeres when you weren't his first choice? Really good question, Jason, and I'll break it down for you in this way. First and foremost, I'm just going to timestamp when we started these super chats and viewer comments, because I know a lot of you like to see them back. First point, Jason, is this. It's not about being prepared to pay. Sporting promised that the player could leave for around 60 million euros. So Arsenal were just trying to hold the club to that price they set. It's not about not wanting the player. Equally, the Sesko price has started to rise. They're putting the price up, and Arsenal want to get it back down to the valuation that they see the player being worth. So it's not about them lacking pride, because players don't set. It's not as though, it's not like you're trying to sell a car and you set the price and it's your car. The players are not inanimate objects. However, they don't set their own price. They're not earning the money. Typically, there are some clauses where players earn money through their own sale, but that's rare. The players are not setting that price. So they are not going to look at Arsenal as disrespectful unless it goes on too long. So should we be the last week of August and they're haggling over 3 million quid, there is a potential for another team to swoop in and say, look, we're just going to pay the asking price for you. And they go, do you know what? Fair dues. So I think it's the timing of it. But right now, I don't think there's any pride issues, especially with two players on holiday that both want to join the club. Why would United want Gyokeres if we're not his first choice? Because not being his first choice doesn't dictate a lack of willingness to do well at the club. Doesn't mean that if he's no longer wanted by Arsenal, this is what's crazy. That logic dictates that no club ever again from this point should sign Gyokeres if Arsenal don't get him. Because Arsenal right now are his primary choice. But if Arsenal pull away, and then United say no because you weren't first choice, your logic dictates nobody should ever sign him. Why did Arsenal sign Ozil? His first choice was to start Real Madrid. They didn't want him, but you signed him. Do you understand my point? In the professional world of football, players, when they go to new clubs, it's often their second choice, because a lot of the times players don't want to leave the clubs they're at. Sometimes they do. There are sometimes players you sign that, Man United got Cristiano Ronaldo in 2004. If Arsenal would have paid the asking price of Sporting Lisbon, he would have joined Arsenal, which would have made him an Arsenal player and legend and not a United one. But Sir Alex Ferguson didn't sit there and go, do you know what? Look at the potential, look at the talent, look how amazing he could be. But he wanted Arsenal last year, so therefore, I'm going to say no. Initially, Wirtz wanted to go to Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich messed up. And they put out PR stories that him and his family didn't like. And that helped to change his mind. But if Liverpool use your logic, Jason, because at one stage in time, the number one choice for Wirtz was Bayern Munich, Liverpool wouldn't have even inquired. And if they hadn't have inquired, they wouldn't have been able to turn the player's head and land him. So I just think, again, we sometimes have to take the logic to test that logic works, you have to extrapolate it and expand it. So I get, he wanted Arsenal. I hate Arsenal. So I get a United fan might think, he wanted Arsenal. I hate Arsenal. Arsenal rejected him. There's no way I want him, because you're now doing like a guilty by association, which holds some water. But if you extrapolate that process, that logic, and start to apply it across the spectrum, I mean, then does it work in the other direction? Is Shirky a mug because he joined City after he was rejected by after they were rejected in the Wirtz deal, or after they pulled away from the Wirtz deal because it was too expensive? Shirky was their second choice. Should he not sign for them because he wasn't the first choice? And you can just sit there and reread transfers for the last 30, 40 years, right down to this summer, and you'll find multiple examples where clubs are going for their second or third choice. By the way, from a United point of view, the Lap was our first choice. So Gyokeres is only our second choice anyway. So imagine us having the audacity to say we only want to sign players who where we're their number one choice, when we're going after players that were not our number one choice. It's just, when you break it down, sorry, where did you hear this about Wirtz? It was the project he didn't like, and nothing to do with his family. Well, I read a story from, there was a big, tell you where I heard that story, my friend. I heard that story from, that big Bayern Munich fan account, fairly credible, I believe, who put out a breakdown as to why it definitely isn't going to Bayern Munich. And it got a lot of credibility and a lot of traction in those big statements and big pieces they released. They spoke about the PR. And it wasn't just the PR, by the way. You're probably right. The project played a part in it too. The point I'm making is that at some point, Wirtz looked at Bayern Munich as his next destination. It's fairly well documented. But if Liverpool would have gone, well, he wants them That's his number one choice. Let's not even inquire. You wouldn't have got him. You've got to chance your arm. You can always change someone's mind during the fact or after the fact. And I just think if we start adopting this logic that we shouldn't sign players because they don't see us as their number one choice, their pinnacle, and they never want to play for anybody else, a lot less deals would get done. Equally, if players started saying no when they weren't the first choice, all of us sign a lot less players. Again, in reality, the logic doesn't work. My view is just bring me better players. As long as the only caveat is this: if he doesn't want to join for 200 grand, 300 grand a week, and he's worth that, don't go, there's 800 grand a week, and then they join. Don't throw ridiculous money at the situation. Outside of that, bring me better players. My concern is Sesko takes a season or two to be this worldly player. In that time, no majors, Rice and Saliba and Timber start to leave. I could be wrong. Do you know what, Gunnar Paul? You could be right. You could be right. I want to quote you something. Right. Mark Twain once said, I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. And I try to live by that logic. And what I mean by that is this: what's going to happen is going to happen. Some people believe it's already preordained. If anyone's watching this, and I'm sure there's many of you that are religious, it's already going to happen, right? There's already a divine plan of sorts. So whether you believe it religiously or whether you believe it more philosophically, what's going to happen is going to happen. And as Mark Twain famously said, I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which haven't happened. My view is this, Gunnar Paul: you could be spot on and no one is taking that opinion away from you. My advice isn't don't feel that way. And maybe sometimes I articulate it wrong because I'm just a working class man with only like GCSE education. So maybe I don't always word things right. But my view is this: I don't think you should be stressing yourself and being overly focused on that, because what that does in the short term, it's a killer. It takes away joy. It takes away excitement. It takes away conversations. You could be right, but it could also be that Sesko comes in and does really well. So I think you're allowed to have an opinion. I like the signing. I don't like it. But what I try not to do, because I did this for a long time in my life, and it's only really been the last couple of years where I've stopped doing it, I used to get overly worried. Oh, what are they going to say? What are people going to do? Oh, what's going to happen when I go live? Oh, no. And it's never, ever been as bad. Oh, United have done this wrong, that wrong. Even losing the final to Spurs, I was more worried about it. The pain I felt and the anxiety and the chest cramps and because I'll go online, like the stress of building up to that final, losing it hurt a lot less than I thought it would. And these are life lessons. Even if it goes as bad as you think, it may not be that bad in reality. So I wouldn't allow it to take away from Sesko's not my number one choice. Let's get behind him. Let's be supportive to see how it works. I think that's a better way to live than I'm going to be angry every single moment until he completely proves me wrong in case it does go wrong. Again, feel free to live how you want. I'm not saying you've got to change. I'm saying it could be a sad existence looking at life through that lens. Football existence. You might not do it in your personal life. What I do notice is some people are very different when it comes to talking football to how they are with their friends and family, but that's just me. Ozil also turned us down before he joined Madrid. He promised Wenger if he was to leave, he'd come to Arsenal. So I agree with you, Tel. Yes, but it's also well documented that he sat on your medical table and waited before signing the deal because there was a rumor United were going to come in for him. But Arsenal still signed him, and he was, for a period, a success for you. Thank you, Luke, for telling everybody to get that like button hit. Very, very important to us here that you do that. Awesomely explained, Terry. I get you 100%. Thank you, Paul. And it's good to have these conversations because I think that, again, there is a difference between saying you shouldn't think that way to I get how you think, but how about viewing it through a different lens for a moment? Like I said earlier, I think it's a quite sad existence for a football fan to dislike a signing for their club makes and to set no kind of line where you go, do you know what? The frustration I have or the hate I have or the annoyance I have, I can let it go at that point. I can say, do you know what? Fair dues. I didn't like it when Man United signed Michael Owen. Didn't like it. When he scored that winner against City, I remember coming out of the ground. I was with my brother. And I was like, do you know what? So I hated Michael Owen my whole life as a footballer. I was obviously young at the time. By then, I was probably actually in my mid-20s, but I was like mid to late 20s. I'd always hated him from being a kid. And I was like, oh, he's all right, actually, isn't he? He's all right, isn't he? After scoring that goal. And it was that moment that made me just drop all the annoyance that I ever had for him. Does that make sense? And I always like to do that in life just because I find it cathartic or therapeutic to go, do you know what? I can just drop that now, if that makes sense. But that's just me. What's the news, Terry? Well, look, we're going to open up the lines now. But before we do that, we're going to have a little recap. Let me just share the link in the live chat so I can pin it. There's a few things I want to just recap. We haven't actually touched on the Newcastle situation or Mark Geuhi as yet, but you guys can phone in and speak about that. We can go into those in more detail. I'm going to share the link now in the live chat, and I'm going to pin it for you guys to get yourselves involved in this conversation today. But a recap on the news, if you guys haven't seen, let me just put a little timestamp so you guys can for later. Is first of all, Myles Lewis-Skelly new deal, the importance of that for Arsenal, the brilliant nature of it. The Gyokeres deal, there's reports coming out of Portugal, some in the UK, that United are now back in pole position. So we've kind of broke that down and spoke about it from every which way and angle. The other news that we hadn't touched on that we're going to take calls on is Mark Geuhi to Liverpool. A number of the big Liverpool aggregators and reporters now are saying that there's a big chance that this deal happens. It's getting nearer. A number of top transfer journalists have kind of played this down with the, I love what Ben Jacobs says. He goes, I'm going to respect the negotiations. And I love that. And I get why journalists like Ben do it. He may not want to admit this, but I believe it to be the truth. And it's fair because it's an industry for him. It's a job. You don't want to burn one side of the story because you never know when you're going to need them to give you information for something else. So you're going to be kind with it. And often a lot of people mistake kindness for not being real. That isn't the case at all, you know? It isn't the case at all. I've got some mates and some friends where if they wore a horrible pair of jeans or a terrible shirt, I'd say, bruv, that is shit. Take it off. I've got other mates I know less well or I'm less close to where I'd go, yeah, it looks good, mate. Nice. When it comes to like a work connection, someone turns up to work. Only one time in my working life, I was in a certain department where the group of us, including our bosses, there was this connection and this click between us where we were just like mates rather than colleagues. All the other times, if someone turned up in a horrible suit, what'd you make of my new whistle? Yeah, that's nice, mate. In my head, I'm going, fuck me. There's sometimes where just being courteous or nice or respectful isn't the same as not being real. And again, some people don't believe in that. Oh, I'm just going to say it as it is, when it is, whenever I want. No filter. Yeah, that's Peter Griffin. That's Peter Griffin from Family Guy. There's no filter. No filter. It's up to you. If you live like that, you live like that. I ain't going to hate on you. It's up to you. There's the Geuhi news. The other thing I also find interesting that I want to take some calls on is yesterday it was reported that Newcastle put in £125 million worth of bids for João Pedro, for James Trafford, and Anthony Elanga. According to Luke Edwards, who is Mr. Newcastle when it comes to their transfer news, has said that a triple bid worth 25 million for Pedro, Elanga, and James have been made. All three players want to play at Eddie Howe, and the wage demands will not be a problem. But it's now been reported, by Matt Hardy of the Times, who's their Northern correspondent, that all of those bids have been rejected. And we had a debate yesterday on Straight Facts as to whether or top six race, whether or not that is a good expenditure. Is that going to improve their squad and their team enough to really have a real go at the Champions League, to try and win another trophy, and to maintain at the very least a top 4 to top 5 position? Remember, it might be top 4 next year if the English teams don't do very well in Europe. So we'll kind of see how that play. I actually think having Chelsea, United, and Tottenham in the Europa League and Conference League help get top 5. We don't have teams as experienced in Europe this year in those competitions. So whether we get the coefficient points or not, we will see. But then we do have 5 Champions League teams, and there's more coefficient points at hand. So if we get all 5, get themselves into the knockout stages of sorts, then we'll probably get top 5. So for me, I don't know. I'm not sure about the overall quality of those players. I'm not sure if Alanga is going to hit the same heights again as he did last year. I kind of hope he does as an ex-United player, but I'm not convinced. I don't know if James Trafford is legitimately better than Nick Pope. He's probably better with his feet, but I don't know whether that's a massive growth. And João Pedro, I'm going to end up probably eating my words on this. He's definitely an upgrade on Callum Wilson, the Callum Wilson of 2025. But I don't know how much of a needle pusher he is. I don't know how much that ceiling is going to get raised. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. A bit off topic, but what do I get from Greg's? Oh, do you know what? It's a real difficult one. So again, the first thing that comes out of my head, right, is steak bake. I love a steak bake. Love a steak bake from them. Excellent, right? Absolutely love one. And they're lovely. Okay. I love a sausage roll from Greg's as well. I'm partial to a slice of pizza. But they also do a sandwich that's like chicken and something Mexican mayo or something. I quite like that. They're like my go-tos. I never get one of their bacon or sausage rolls, and they're just like microwaved horrible. But yeah, for me, if I go Greg's, it's normally I go into Greg's and I'll get a steak bake with a sausage roll. Is typically what I'll go for. But I don't remember the name. I'm trying to find it now. Oh, do you know what? That's what it is. It's the char grilled chicken overbite. But I think it comes with like a Mexican mayo. But the steak bake's good. The sausage roll's good. The cheese and ham baguette's all right as well, you know. There's quite a few. But I don't really eat much of it anymore. But every now and then. Who bakes a steak? That's called a steak bake. It's like a pasty. It's like steak and gravy inside like a pastry. And you bake pastry. And the steak's inside. Like a pie. You bake a pie, don't you? With steak in it. But yeah, there we go. Right, we're going to take some calls. Who we got coming on the show? We've got Kane. We've got Emel. Is it Emel? Is that how you say it, right? I used to work with I'm saying it wrong. I used to work with a Polish guy, and that's how his name was spelt, and he used to say his name was Emel, and I probably said it wrong now. But I can see by your surname that you're not from Poland. So, because is very much a Scandinavian surname, if I've ever seen one in my life. It could be Larson as well, and that would also be very Scandinavian. Certain surnames, you know where people are from. Like, if you ever see a Smith, you pretty much know they're English, right? You see a Pierre, you know they're French. You know, you see certain names like Larson, you just know that's going to be Swedish, as an example. Olsen's confusing me. I want to say Swedish, but then I want to say Norwegian. But then I want to say it could be Denmark. I'm confused which one that's linked to, but I know it's one of them. But I could be wrong. What's the most common German name? It's like a surname. Put it in the comment section. Like, Terry, is Fleurs French? Yes, my surname is French, but we changed the spelling here. So my dad did like a big family ancestry thing years ago. And my French descendants came to the UK, and then I'm going to try and get the dates right here, during the long time ago. It was in like the 1700s. They came during the French Revolution. And the name ended up being, and this happened, I didn't realize how often this happened. This happens, but like, there's a lot of American Italians whose names are not kind of spelt right. And this was spoken about in The Sopranos with, I don't remember his first name. One of the gangsters was called, surname was Leotardo. And essentially he says in the thing that when he arrived, that when his ancestors arrived in America and said their name was Leonardo, it got misspelt and they wrote Leotardo and it carried on. And whatever else. And obviously I think they might have made a joke about that name, but these things happened. So as my family that moved in from France, essentially, the surname wasn't Fleurs, it was Fleur de Lis was the name, which I think means like white flower or white lily or something. And over time, and new documentation, it just got changed to Fleurs, and then we became quite working class, and it was Fleurs, like quite blunt and English. So yeah, it does stem from a French name, according to my dad. Did all this stuff years ago and broke it down to us. So yeah, it is French. Klopp Yeah, I don't. I've only ever Schumacher. Is that regular? Like Muller would be the one. Yeah. I've heard Muller a lot. I've heard Muller a lot. To be fair, that's probably the one. I'd like to know. Yeah, like that. It was spelt Fleur, like that, and it just got changed. But then it's also why I didn't realize this. I remember listening to a podcast once, like why there's so many different ways of spelling the name Amy, as an example. And nowadays, people try and find cool ways of spelling their kids' names because it looks good. But initially, why a lot of names got spelt wrong is it was working class families. So what used to happen is baby was born, mummy and daddy would name the baby, and daddy would shoot off to register the birth. But a lot of working class men didn't have great education. So they were asked, how are you spelling Amy? A-I-M-E. Like they'd spell it wrong, but it was on a birth certificate. So this thing started happening. I remember listening to this woman say, she was a registrar, and she was saying that this used to happen like regularly. And that's how like the variant of names came out. So I wouldn't be surprised when hearing that, coupled with what we found out about my family name. And I know this happened in a lot of Italian Americans, like names just get misspelt once and they get on documents and it just changes over time. So yeah, anyway, we digress massively from talking football. This super chat here says, all because someone asked me what I eat at Greg's. There we go. People getting stressed or worry about our club's football is a soap opera, ups and downs, excitement and tears. That's why we love it and discuss it. Top job, Terry. Thank you. But that's also why I try my best to get into a world now where even when I do fan channel review and disagree with people, the only people I call out are the journalists when I think, and the mainstream media when I think they're deliberately being controversial, because I think they've got a responsibility, especially as a lot of the time we're paying them. But like Sky, TNT Sports. However, even when it comes to fans, even if I disagree, I try to look at it in the right way. I just think that we're in a space now where I'm not going to, just a 40-year-old man, I'm not going to start a beef with somebody because they have an opinion I dislike, or I don't like how they make content, or, you know, oh yeah, well, great. Woo! Anyway, my surname is Paul. I hate it. Okay. I wouldn't hate your name. There's a few names maybe. I had a friend I used to work with, and he hated his name growing up just because of the generation I was from. His name was Darren Gay. And you can imagine growing up through the 90s and the 80s, the 90s and the noughties in East London and Essex, having the surname Gay, you just know what the other kids are going to do, right? That's why we all found Meet the Fockers funny when we found out his name was Gaylord Fucker. Like, that was a massive exaggeration of a name. But you just know, in my generation, I was good friends with Daz. Like, I didn't join in with it, but he used to get a lot of shit. Like, and I think he's changed his name now on Depot. I had another guy I used to work with, though. I forgot about this. He changed his name on Depot legitimately to Darth Vader. He used to work in a builder's merchants I was at, and he changed his signature, and his signature was like Darth Vader's helmet. Oh my god! And I remember him going around telling everyone started having to call it was like he legally did it. Everyone at work had to call him Darth. Everyone did. I just remember, I forgot about that. It's only because we all worked, me and Dad both worked at the same company for a little while. Oh, fuck, that was hilarious. Some people think that only nowadays people have done weird things. Nah, weird stuff's always existed. You just didn't see it because it weren't on social media. Do you know what I mean? Mine was Copplestone. I know a few Copplestones. One of my teachers had that surname. But anyway, let's get to your calls, because we're nearly out of time. I have to stream for longer now. First of all, Aaron Talks Football is going to be on the show with me this morning. I can tell he's an Arsenal fan. Sorry, Aaron Talks Arsenal is his name, not football, because everybody talks football now. It's about 30 so-and-so's talk football. That's the one I'm not going to name my channel. Terry Talks Football. I just can't do it. I'm not going to do it. But he's definitely a gooner. We're going to bring him on now. Aaron, welcome to the Football Terrace, mate. How are you?
Yeah, big up, bruv. Cheers for having me on. Can I just add to one of your stories as well? One of my ex-cheekers, she used to work for Giza. His second name was Enos, and his first name was Peter. So you can guess what his bank card used to spell out.
Yeah, they're amazing, those stories. I sell phones, and the best two I had, one was just funny because his name was Michael Jackson. I was like, I sold Michael Jackson a phone. The other one, it was the way their bill was, and he was funny with it. So his name was Chris Mycock, right? And so he would just say whatever when you write down like the initials of my contract or the back, whatever it is, it needs to be Mr. C. Mycock. He goes, I find it funny. But it was his wife's name because her name was Pat. And he was like, you got to put my wife's name as that. So it was Mr. C. Mycock and Mrs. Pat Mycock. I love shit like that. It's jovial but funny, mate.
Yeah. Come on, man.
It's funny. But Aaron, look, obviously, we're talking about Lewis-Skelly getting his new deal. There's talk today about the last couple of days now, a lot of talk that Sesko might end up being the number one guy. What's your? I know you put a comment in earlier, mate, which I respect. What's your thoughts on? We'll start with the Sesko one. What's your thoughts around this, and why are you not keen on him becoming an Arsenal player?
Yeah, look, first off, I'll actually go around the answers differently to how I usually explain myself. So what I will say is, because you said to me afterwards about my comments about accountability, listen, I hold the fan base to accountability. I hold the club to that same thing, and the same for myself. I'll be doing exactly the same thing. Let's not get it twisted. I'm an Arsenal fan that wants Arsenal to do well. If Sesko bangs in 20, 30 league goals, there'll be no one happier on this planet than me. I want Arsenal to win. There's a difference between wanting something to happen and the likelihood of it happening. And I think a lot of people get that mixed up. Yeah. Of course, if Sesko signs, of course I want him to do well. I just don't think he will. That's a massive difference. Look, what my comments were, yeah? And like I said, let's just say he does bang. I'll hold my hands up. I'll go, do you know what? I'm glad I was wrong. He's got 20, 25 league goals here and he's doing well. Bookies, yeah? And I'll take this from this. Bookies are very, very, very wealthy industry. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And they get their opinions based on historical events and then give you a likelihood out of it. That's how I assess my football teams and my football clubs and the players and how I think they're going to work. Victor Gyokeres has scored 89 league goals in the last 3 seasons. Benjamin Sesko's got 43. If you had to put your channel on it and a striker that's going to get 20 league goals for Arsenal next season, who are you doing it? Who are you putting it on? 89 or 43? And one second, tell just before you jump in there. There's a worrying thing for me as he scored 16 goals in the Austrian league 3 seasons ago. He's moved to Germany. He scored 14 league goals. Last season, he scored 13 league goals. So not only is that already what we've got, it's already regressing over the last 3 seasons in terms of output. Arsenal Football Club, guess what? Gabriel Jesus' highest league goal, 13 for Arsenal Football Club. What about Kai Havertz, 13 for Football Club? So you're telling me I've waited half a decade for Mikel Arteta to make a signing. I've waited 2.5 years for us to replace Aubameyang, and you're going to replace 2 13-goal-a-season strikers with a 13-goal-a-season striker. What are we doing here? Victor Gyokeres is people forget that he's only 27. They make out like he's 37. He's in the peak. He's in the peak form of his life. He is ready to take that next step. He is absolutely on fire. He's probably, in terms of availability, the best player out there to go and get in terms of striker. He's ready-made right here, right now. And Arsenal Football Club are choosing another project. And the reason why I said he could set us back 2 years behind is because we've already got players that can score his output on average. We don't know. He could come in and score more than that, but I'm just making an assessment based on historical events. That's his average over the last 3 seasons. We've got 2 players that do that already. I haven't got 2 years to wait. We've waited and spent £750 million at Arsenal Football Club, which is £750 million, by the way. Over half a decade. I don't want a striker that's 21 that's going to come in and maybe he'll bang in 2 years. The patience is up in terms of the striker. It's just up till. Why on earth would you want to sign a project this? If we signed Benjamin Sesko 2 years ago, I'll go, do you know what? I can half sort of understand that. He'll grow with the players around him. You'll get that. And then from 3 years to 5 years, yeah, I expect something. But not after 5.5 years, not at the end of this process of that. That's what we call it. It's ridiculous in itself. I just want Arsenal to do well now. I also haven't got the time anymore. Mikel Arteta has not got the time anymore to be faffing around with 21-year-olds that may or may not do it. Give me something that's more statistical likeliness. Benjamin Sesko does not know how to put the ball in the net just as much as Victor Gyokeres does. That's that. Get me the better striker. 89, 43. What are we doing? This 40% less. Well, come on, it's madness. I can't fathom why people want Sesko over Gyokeres. It just baffles me, bruv.
So do you know what? There's a lot of what you said there that I agree with. I would go for Gyokeres over Sesko every single day of the week. I don't disagree with that as an opinion. I think Gyokeres is a phenomenal player. The only area that I also agree that there is no room for error on whatever signings you go for. Even if you get Gyokeres and he flops, there's no room for error. I think Arteta, between him and his team, he's got to get it right. He's got to start winning trophies. If you have a year where your signings don't really work and you don't win any trophies, I absolutely advocate for you looking for a replacement. I actually said at the end of last year, if you can find someone better, I think you should be looking to do it, because Arsenal, I think, are on the edge of winning big trophies. So I agree with all of that. The only thing I disagree on, but I get your logic. And I always talk about understanding someone's logic as opposed to the opinion. The why behind the what is always what I focus on, which is why I asked people the question, what would have to happen for you to change your mind? I want to see whether there is, some people go, nothing can change my mind. Then I think,
yeah, but that's ridiculous.
I look at that and just think, well, now you're just trolling, have your opinion, but I'm probably not going to enter a dialogue with you because it's not a conversation. So the only thing that I think he's a better player than you're saying he is, though. But I am basing that on a little bit of faith, I suppose. Faith in the sense that I've watched him and I think in a better team he can perform to a higher level. But again, I'm very open about what that belief is. I think that may happen. It's not a guarantee. With Gyokeres, his goals and outputs, I feel, are more of a guarantee. So that's why I agree. Yeah. As much as I want you to go for Sesko because it leaves the way for Man United, I would be signing Gyokeres if I was in Arsenal's position. That I agree with. So the only thing I really disagree on is I do think Sesko will. I think he'll be a success. I also don't think he's going to take 3 to 4 years to be an established Premier League player. I think just looking at the way he plays, I think he'll hit the ground running. Equally, though, I still think Gyokeres will outscore him in the Premier League next year, and I think we'll see both in the Prem.
That's what it all boils down to, Tel. Come on, that's what it all boils down to.
I agree.
Who will perform better? Almost like the we've seen like the Norgard, and there's a lot of discussion around that with Thomas Partey. Don't care about the finances. Who's the better player? We should have kept Thomas Partey. I know we're negating away from what we were talking about, but the point is I want the best available players, and I don't care too much about the finances. I'm not on the books at Arsenal Football Club. I just want the best players available in there, and taking that from the party and the thing like that, Thomas Partey is a better player, and Sesko is not guaranteed. You'd likely think to score and bang for Arsenal, just like Victor Gyokeres probably would. None of us got crystal ball. None of us are descendants from Nostradamus. Neither of us know, but it's a likelihood. That's what we're going on. So when people in the chat, and I've run this all the time on my channel, people say, "Oh yeah, but you don't know Gyokeres will bang." Of course I don't, but he's probably more likely to, and that's who I want us to get in. Who's more likely? Who's the better player? Who's ready now? Sesko might be phenomenal. He might be one of the best strikers in the world in 2-3 years. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Egg on my face. But what about this year?
Do you know what I think happens, though, Aaron? And listen, again, logically, what you're saying is sound. I think what happens, though, for a lot of people is there's a lot of this online, and I'm sure you've watched it, consumed it, been on panels with it, where some people, it's an agenda in the sense of, you've already said, if he comes in and bangs in the 20 plus league goals and you're winning, you're going to go, great, hands up, I got that wrong. Crack on. The problem is, I think a lot of fans now, it's you'll have seen this. It's if he does badly, the ones that backed him will just make excuse after excuse after excuse. If he does well, there'll be certain groups that will they'll just keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, we've seen it with Cristiano Ronaldo. The man's in 40 and he slowed down, and people have gone, remember I always told you weren't that good a player. It's like, what the fuck are you still pushing that agenda for 15, 20 years later? I think people are a little bit fatigued with a agenda. And I'd say about the Arteta inners and the Arteta outers. For me, and I'm not talking about people that now have gone, do you know what, I think he's had enough time, he's got to move on. I'm talking about the people from day one that have backed him no matter what, or hated him no matter what. I think they're all redundant in the debate because they're just trying to push their original agenda, as opposed to, well, actually, he did these things good, now he's got to move on. Or he did these things good, but now we're failing, or now it's going backwards, we should look at a new manager. I just think the conversation has evolved beyond the original conversation. And I think that's why people are fatigued. So look, I don't agree with everything you've said, but I think you've explained yourself very, very well there, my friend. I appreciate you coming on, Aaron. Make sure you call in again, and it'd be great to get you on some more shows.
Sweet. Cheers, Ralph.
Top man. Cheers, Aaron. Top man. Thank you. We've got Mr. Olsen on the show with us next. What are you saying, bro?
Hey, Terry. Big fan.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan, so that's pretty much on my mind 24/7 these days.
Well, you've had a good summer. You've had a good summer so far.
Well, it's definitely not over yet, is it?
Exactly. What have you phoned in to say, my friend?
Well, I'm really curious about the Newcastle business these days, for obvious reasons. Because I've been watching the fellows over at the Transfer Flow, That's the podcast started by the guy who created StatsBomb.
Okay.
They have really, really, really good analysis and insight. Because they've been deeply involved as executives at the Premier League level. So, and also they are probably the best analysts around. They actually created the stuff that most Premier League clubs use for analysis.
Oh, wow.
So you really should check out that podcast. They are awesome.
I'll take a look.
Oh yeah, the transfer flow. They are really, really good. So a big up to those boys. So when they've been discussing Newcastle and Eddie Howe specifically, they've kind of accused him of target lock. And I think Newcastle are now probably in the same position with Eddie Howe that Liverpool was with Jurgen Klopp. That he started to get a lot of power, and the guys who did the recruiting teams are starting to quit because they get overridden by the manager. And that's when you see decisions like Nunez. That's when you see decisions like going after Mark Geuhi and almost buying him for £70 million. Stuff like that. So I think that's why Newcastle are getting bids rejected, because clubs know this now. They know Newcastle will keep bidding. They will get target lock. They won't move on. And so
they could do they definitely could. And I think I'm not even too sure if they're going after players that are moving the needle too much either. When you think about the Bruno Guimaraes, the Isak, these types of signings, Livramentos, I don't look at the three they're going after and go, yeah, they're moving that needle. I mean, I hope they get a Langer for as much money as possible, because Man United get a big percentage of that.
Yeah, shit rolls downhill, right?
I hear you on that. Listen, my friend, thank you very much for calling in. I really appreciate you coming on and having your say.
Yeah, thank you.
Top man, thank you very much indeed. Next on the show, we have Kane. What are you saying, Kane?
Bud, it's probably a good time that me coming on, could be a Newcastle fan, given the last call.
Yeah. I mean, what do you make about what he said?
I think he's actually quite right. I think what we have seen in the past with Eddie Howe is he does have favourites when it comes to who he's after. We saw it with, and I think he's right. I think we do, even before, like we've been linked to João Pedro before. We tried to get him out of Watford. In fact, we had that deal all signed up, ready to go until Callum Wilson got injured, and so we didn't have someone we could wait on in João Pedro, and so we pulled the trigger on Isak, which obviously worked out for us in this instance. But I do agree. Eddie Howe does have some kind of lock on certain players. He does like players, which wouldn't surprise me if we do. Even with the Liverpool interest, we may look at Mark Geuhi again, because centre back is a big problem for us moving forward. And listen, I think Liverpool are making a credible bid? Possibly. It could. I mean, he's a great player. If Liverpool get him, if we get him as well, it'd transform our first 11 automatically. And but at the same time, Liverpool might be using Mark Geuhi as a sort of a signal to Kanate, like, listen, if you don't sign this new deal, like we're happy to move on. Do I see Mark Geuhi coming as a backup? He's already come out and said he wants to maximize his minutes, especially when you think about the World Cup coming up. And I think that's where Newcastle have an edge on Liverpool. We can offer him that first team football in the Champions League, and we've already shown interest in him. And I do think, as much as players look at what clubs are coming in for him, they also look at, well, this club's already been in for me. And I feel like players do like to feel appreciated. And when I think that, again, even though we have this target lock, which may work against us in some cases, it also works for us, because, again, players see that Eddie Howe, who is a great manager and a great coach on top of that, if he shows an interest in you, it means that there's something special in you, and he can bring that out and make you even better. We've seen this countless times with Eddie. You see Joe Linton's the obvious case, Jacob Murphy this season, Miggy last year, and even Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon, when he came in, and the Anthony Gordon transfer actually makes me. It actually reminds me of what you said earlier about the Mark Twain stuff, in terms of when you see these transfers coming in and not immediately writing off because for me, Anthony Gordon, when we were linked to them, I was like, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing, but I'll trust the manager. And he's proven as year on year that he can improve players, and I think that's going to be a benefit. Now, you talk about the three that we've just been rejected. I can see why we've been rejected, because the prices are a bit low compared to what their valuations are. Whether or how I value them, it's neither here nor there, really. It's what the clubs value that they're at. And I don't think we're that far away from each individual valuation from those clubs. I mean, I think if you look at the breakdown of the 125, it was 25 to Trafford, 50 for João Pedro, 50 for Elanga, which is, I would say, within 5 to 10 million of the club's evaluations of them. And so could there be movement? Possibly. Do I think that's going to affect things like an Isak deal? I don't think so. I actually really think with the Isak deal, I think all sides are playing their part in this perfectly. Liverpool are doing what they should be doing as the buying club. They're sounding these strikers out, testing the waters of their clubs and seeing who wiggles, who is twitchy. Newcastle are doing what they should be doing. They're not really twitching. They're saying, like, this is our price. It's a high price. They're going to break. You're going to have to pay a lot of money to get him. And Isak's doing what he should be doing, staying silent. He's already come out and said publicly, I like playing here. But as you've said in the past, like, just because he says he likes playing here doesn't mean that he's not going to choose the Liverpool should a bid come in. Now, to me, what that says is Isak's sitting pretty. He knows he's got 3 years on his deal. He's not going to push for a move, I don't think, because I just don't think that's his nature. But if a deal comes in, that's going to force the price up, really. I think when you say if it's between 150, 200, I think you're looking, with an Isak not pushing, you're looking at a 150 base with add-ons.
I think you can make a lot of sense. I think, again, it's about understanding the situation. He might, and this is life. You know, he might have more luck getting out of Newcastle if he wants to leave. By being respectful, professional, courteous, as opposed to putting the backs up of the owners and the people running the club by being an arse. And so whether it's in his nature or not, in some respects, he's a buy to buy. It's what is the best strategy for getting what you want and need. And I think, again, the modern day world that we live in, when you're dealing with these, I think when you had owners that were millionaires and footballers that were famous and millionaires, maybe it was easier to walk into their office and get in their face and say, I've got to go. You're telling me that the types of people now that own Newcastle, that the people that own City, do you think they're intimidated by a millionaire footballer?
Yeah,
they just
exactly.
They could afford, again, the wealth they have and the power they have. They could go, right, I'm going to buy you, I'm going to buy your whole family, and I'm going to make you go and play for Timbuktu FC, and say they have the power theoretically to do this, right? Not they couldn't physically do it, but theoretically. So I think the best way to work with uber rich, powerful billionaires is maybe to be nice. And so I do agree. I think there's a chance that happens as an example.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's there. A question from KJ who's watching. KJ said,
sure.
Does Kane believe Man United have ruined Arsenal's transfer window?
Arsenal specifically.
Sorry. Do you believe Man United have ruined Newcastle's transfer window? Sorry, Newcastle. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, listen. I think in every single window, you're going to have a position where two teams go for a player and you can't split people in half. So one wins, one loses. You move on to the next target. That's why you have second, third, fourth choices. If we're going to talk at Mbeumo specifically, sure. He would have. I think he's a great player. I think he'd be a great player for us. I think he'd be a great player for you. I'll be interested to see where he plays for you, because when I've been seeing heat maps of where he operates and stuff, it seems more out on the wing. Now, if he's going to play in that 10, can he do it? Oh, sure. I've got no reason to believe he couldn't. In terms of, did you outbid us? Did you drive the price up? I mean, I do remember the comment saying that you're paying inflated prices and therefore it drives everything up, and that value is with the purchaser, which is business 101. But I think what people are forgetting with football is this notion of cornering the market. Now, if you think about it, every single player is a market. There is an Mbeumo market. There is only one, and Brentford have monopolized that market. And so as the sellers, they can ramp the price of that because they have a monopoly on Mbeumo. No one else can get an Mbeumo. There's only one. And so they can drive the price up. And do I think he chose Newcastle, Man United over Newcastle because of name? Maybe. I can accept that's a possibility. But I also can see I think it's realistic to say that maybe in Burma rightfully or wrongfully stated his wage demands, which didn't align with Newcastle. That's totally fine. Brian is perfectly in. He's in
but I agree.
perfectly. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's
No,
perfectly.
I agree. I agree. With the money, I just want to say so on the money. It's people try and take it as an insult. The reason why Newcastle fans got excited about your new owners, I know part of it was actually going. And the reason you all got excited about your new owners and their wealth is, oh wow, look what that money could do for us. We all like the idea that you could be poor as a football club and achieve what City have done is the most deluded notion that you could maybe in the history of football. The only way Newcastle are going to win the Prem and the Champions League and then consistently stay up there is by paying similar wages to what Madrid and PSG and Arsenal and Man United do. But you've got to build your revenues to that. So when I hear United fans go, "Oh, you only picked us because we paid that money," yes, you look at Real Madrid's wage bill isn't the same as Brighton's. People don't just pick Real Madrid because they're Real Madrid. They pick Real Madrid because part of the package is you get paid to be a Real Madrid player. So it's part of the allure and the pull. It is the money. I agree.
Yeah, like and he's well within his right, by the way. If he says, listen, I think I value myself at 160,000, whatever it was reported, that the most recent number reported 160, 150. He's well within his right to say this is what I want. And Newcastle were well within their right to go, well, if that's what you want, then this isn't the deal for us, and we are right to walk away from that deal. And Man United, in their position, are right to say, listen, we can't afford not to miss out on him, and therefore Man United might not think he's worth 150, but they're willing and able to pay it and think, well, he's going to get us to that closer to where we can start affording that anyway. So it's like I said, everyone's doing that they should be doing, really.
No, I totally agree with you, mate. I do. Kane, been a brilliant call. Absolutely love listening to what you had to say. Make sure you phone in again, my friend. Take care.
We're not all deluded, trust me. Much love, guys. Take it
love,
easy.
mate. Cheers. See you later, bro. Thank you. We've got Cal on the show with us now. What are you saying, Cal? I wanted to ask you, what's been your thoughts the last 24 hours with all this striker news? Go on.
To be honest, I haven't really. Well, obviously, I've been thinking about the striker every day, but I feel like I started off the window really salty, but I've been more positive as the window's gone on. And I think the last couple of days, I don't know why everyone's so mad, because I feel like we're moving differently. I feel like we're getting so much stuff done in the transfer window. And even though it's not the big names that we want right now, preseason hasn't started yet. You know what I'm saying? And we're getting the squad depth that we need. Squad depth is something that every single, content creator, every single fan is talking about when it comes to Arsenal. Something that we just needed to get done, and we're getting it done, because we were just short last season. I've been short for a couple of seasons now, and getting that business done is always going to be, a lot easier than actually getting the big names done. And we're actually getting it done quickly, and we're not overspending, because last summer we spent 30-40 million on like Calafiori and Moreno, which is squad depth, and it took us 6-8 weeks trying to get it done. We just got Norgard in like 2 days. You know what I'm saying? So I've been pretty stoked, and I think it kind of just proves that we are moving differently. I think the amount of we've just been getting, we're linked to a player, we get him, we move on to the next. That happened like 2 times in a row, and I'm pretty excited. And we just got linked to Eze, which I'm very excited about. Like I love Eze. I think he has X factor. I mean, he scored the winning goal in that FA Cup, which means something to me, because that's what Arsenal Football Club needs. We need a guy to score the big goals, because we actually score a lot of goals. It's just we don't have those moments players, and he is a moments player. So if we get him that'll be amazing. Considering the whole striker situation, I want Gyokeres, and I would be disappointed if we got Sesko instead of Gyokeres, but I'm not going to, throw my toys at the pram if we get Sesko. The club has obviously done all their analysis and evaluation as to why they think Sesko is going to, be a good player. He's going to be better than Kai Havertz. He's going to be better than all our options that we have right now. And to be honest, we probably like for me, like if we get someone like an Eze and Rodrigo on the left, and we already have Saka and we already have Declan Rice, I think we have enough to score the big moment goals. Because for me, it's not the like everyone. This mightn't be a popular opinion. Everyone talks about we need a striker to score 25 to 30 goals in a season, which is, that's lovely to say out loud. But Kai Havertz scored, he's like a 15 goal a season type of guy, but he always scores the goals that we don't need. He's the guy that scores the second goal or the fourth goal and stuff like that. We need, like, I feel like we need the moments, guys. And I think if we get that on the left, I'm happy with Sesko as a striking option. So I'm not upset yet. And in terms of we're not getting our business done the way fans want, I don't really care. Just get it done before preseason. Just get the striker in before preseason starts. I don't care that they're getting the squad depth in before the striker. For me, that's kind of silly. It kind of make me, it just sounds like baby talk to me, because it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, look, there's listen, I respect a lot of what Aaron said earlier when he says that he's really not happy with the signing. He's allowed to have that opinion, but it goes, if he proves me wrong, he comes in, I'll support him. If he does well, I'll say I was wrong. If he does bad, I'll complain, which is fair. That's basically what he said. But one thing for me, the sequence of signings has never indicated the actual order of priority at a club ever.
Yeah.
It's never, ever happened, because sometimes it's a case of, well, we've got to move a certain amount of players on first, or we have to raise some money here. It could be that your number one target hasn't made their mind up. So you look at Rodrigo, clearly one of your top targets. You could have gone, do you know what? Sane is available today. Let's go get him. Well, I did watch him play the other day, and I thought, oh, fucking hell, though. He looks a bit ropey, but that could just be a bad game. But you could have activated on that, got the left winger, and gone, great. But then 3 to 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, Rodrigo does become available. I always felt that City, and Pep especially, regretted signing Grealish, because then about a week later, Messi became available. They would have definitely gone in for him if they hadn't already spent that £100 million on Jack Grealish. I think they would have at least made a real play for it. So who knows how that would have gone, by the way, but there we go. I think if you just go, right, let's get it done now. Boom, let's get the player in. This left-sided attacker is available. We've got it done. We've got it. It's the priority position. We've got it done first, as an example. Then you might regret it later on down the window. I just don't. That is something I will push back against and say, okay, at the end of the window, or if you're late, preseason's nearly over and you still haven't got the left winger, you still haven't got the striker, then I would say, do you know what? There is room to complain. Even if the signings are good, they've not had a preseason with each other. I think that gives you that room. But this idea of why have we signed backup players before we sign the main attackers, for me, that is moaning for moaning's sake. I think single football fan, especially if you've been well versed in social media and you've been in this game 5-10 years, the amount of times we've seen this explained to us by the experts, by the clubs, by the agents, to still moan about it, I think for me, it's ignorant at best, performative at worst. There's no way football fans nowadays, like moaning about net spend, we all know it isn't real, right? We all, and it's been not just proven now, you don't even hear anyone talk about it. It literally now is pure profit and book value. They've gone to the real side, which is great to see. Someone who brings it up, oh, we had great net spend this summer. Well, did you? Or you didn't, because net spend isn't real. I view this in the same way. That's the only bit where I'm like, I don't think that complaint holds any water whatsoever for me.
We haven't even started playing football like casually yet. It's not like we're seeing players on the pitch. It's for me, like, we're just getting the business done. And what's weird for me is that this is business that everyone said that we needed to get done. Everyone said that we needed to get, 7 to 8 players in. This is going to be a big window. We have a lot of business to get done. Now that we're getting the business done, and, we've all read the reports that was saying that, Arsenal's going to start pulling the trigger in July. Okay, it's not July yet. It's coming up to July. All of a sudden, we're starting to see, like, the ball starting to roll. So I don't understand. And then, I hear people saying Arsenal aren't being proactive, and
Aaron here in the comments says, tell my bro, there are significantly more pros getting your top players in first than there are cons. My view is this. I agree. I disagree with how you worded that. My view is there are pros in getting your main targets in from the early to mid point of pre-season, as opposed to signing them on deadline day. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with the for the preseason. So like if preseason, first day of preseason, if we don't have that striker, I'm crashing out. Because we need that striker in training.
Yeah, so I agree. So there are.
But right now, when no football is being played and nothing's happening, I'm not. Getting angry yet.
The pro is for the only pro of getting it done now rather than in a week is for the fans. It makes no difference to Arsenal. In fact, the con is you're paying them a salary earlier. Outside of that, if they miss pre-season, I will completely agree with you, Aaron, 1,000%. Maradon, I'll completely agree with you. If we're sitting here and Arsenal are 3 weeks into their pre-season, they're about to go on tour, they're playing games, and they are no closer to any of their main targets coming in, I'll say it's bad. That being said, should they all be in? No club are going to have all their main targets in by then. How do we know that? Like, if Liverpool were going after like Isak and Geuhi, and they're not in for pre-season, and they've had a brilliant summer, I think again the expectations have got to be tempered against reality. How many clubs on a regular basis have all their main targets done before pre-season starts? I don't think it's fair for a Man United fan to set that standard for us, or set that standard for Arsenal, when typically speaking, no clubs achieve that. What I do think is right is for Arsenal to have, or should want, is for 2 or 3 minimum of their main players, Zubimendi's going to be there, to be done before or right at the start of pre-season. I think that is a fair expectation.
Yeah,
having them all done by then, I don't remember how often. I mean, Man United once in the summer of 2007 with, I think, Hargreaves, Nani and Anderson all got done really quick and early, and that's all we bought. Barring that, even when we were being run brilliantly and at our pomp, we were still signing a lot of I swear, like the season started before we signed Dwight York as an example in 98, 99. And I know some people go, football has changed. Well, City is still going to try and sign more players after the Club World Cup, and that's going to go into their weird pre-season. So, look, I get where Aaron and the guys are coming from. I would prefer my players done early, but I think
I would have loved if I woke up this morning and we signed a striker. I've been checking that every single day, but I'm not upset yet because the preseason hasn't started. I'm just not mad at us. Like, I just need it done before preseason starts, and everyone's been saying July, so that's kind of what I'm kind of.
Yeah, I get that. And some people, there's a comment here that says the earlier you get the deals done, the better you can move on to the next one. That's fair, but I also think
that's what we've been doing though. But that's what we've been working on the striking, so we've been working on the striker on left wing, and while that's happening, we've been getting the smaller bits of easier business done. And this is something that Edu never did for us. He would hyper focus on one target and then move on to the next. Yeah, and then we get like 2 or 3 signings.
And the thing is, as well, is even with Edu doing what he did, I would love to have a conversation with people like him and actually like get them on camera at Woodward, all of them. They actually own. I think it's a bit like net spend. I think it's a bit of a myth that we've created because the media kind of dumb it down for us, that negotiators are working on one deal at a time, and that's all they're doing. They work 5 days a week, 8, 9, 10 hours a day on one deal. What else? Once you send that text message into an intermediary, what if we bid this? Cool. What are they then doing for the next 8 hours? They've obviously got a job that's. I just don't believe they're getting paid the wages they are to work on one transfer at a time, where some days there'll be no movement and just get to sit there with their feet up. I believe it's far more complex than that. It can't.
To be honest, for Arsenal, they're probably just arguing with the board. I think he's just arguing with Tim Lewis all day, trying to get his targets, to be honest.
There may be part of that. So look, I understand everyone wanting it done early. I do. And I'm not saying people are wrong for wanting that. Equally, sometimes in life, you've got to gauge your expectations versus the genuine reality of an industry, if that makes sense. The Man United fan goes, I'm only going to be happy if we go invincible in a season. Something that's only been done twice in the history of English football. That's the only thing that can make you happy. That's crazy. Equally, I'm just happy if we win back-to-back games once in the season. Fuck off. Is that all you expect? But you get that. And by the way, I'm not saying that Aaron or Nevi, the guys that have messaged, are polarized like that. But that's why I think I love that Aaron called in. I've seen his content elsewhere, and he'll probably get the shtick of being a negative gooner. I don't necessarily think he was. I think this is why questions
people
and
have different expectations. That's all
exactly.
it is.
The worst thing you can do is, when it comes to politics, I listen to the opposition more than I listen to my own. When it comes to football, I like to listen to opinions I disagree with more than I agree with. The only thing that stops this from happening is Aaron was very gracious and a proper man, I would call him, because he answered my questions. And I think hopefully he would see, oh, I've heard rumors that Terry asks things to try and catch people out. No, I just want to understand your view. And you have to ask questions. You have to dig around. You sometimes have to make people feel a little bit uncomfortable by asking questions to get to the truth. The truth sometimes is, yeah, you've got an agenda. Cool, crack on. Sometimes it's, you just have that opinion. Your mind will change if this happens. This is why you think it. Nobody has to agree, but we understand you. And that's why I started the Football Terrace, was to talk about football. When you're with your boys and your mate says, I think this, you'll question him and challenge him. It isn't because you're trying to, and sometimes you do catch people out. But you're not attempting to. It's just, you messed up there. It's funny. You all saw that. Did you all see that thing yesterday in the UK? There's this woman, I don't know her name. She's like a political commentator. She moaned that when she was in Italy, there wasn't enough international cuisine in Italy. She moaned that it was only pasta and pizza available. My first thought was, that was my first thought. But she's like, there should be more cuisine like in London. And then she said there was none. And then this guy who was on the show there, again, I don't think I've seen him before. I don't know who he is. He put up a placard in the major city that she was next to, the volume of restaurants that there was available. And she went, no, I was in this little town though. He went, oh, were you? He pulled out a placard that had all the towns and all the things that were there, right down to like there being a McDonald's, saying, well, there's all these other restaurants, but you're on Twitter saying it's a disgrace that there isn't all these, it's only Italian restaurants. There are times where you get people, but that's when they're ball-faced lying. But when you're having a genuine conversation with a caller, with a panelist, you're not challenging to catch them out unless they're saying things that go against what they've said before. So, for instance, if Aaron says on the show today, listen, if he bangs in 20-plus league goals, I'm going to be on his side. And 3 seasons running, he bangs in 22, 24, 26, but still every day is slagging him off, I might go when he comes on a show, but you said this, why have you changed your mind? It doesn't make, I'm not trying to catch him out. It's explain it first. But I think that's fair. The same as people do it to me all the time, which is fair. You said this would happen. No, I got it wrong. I've changed my mind. Why you changed your mind? Well, this journalist said this and this player did that. It's a good conversation. So look, big up to the people challenging what we're saying. It's absolutely what we're here for. Tell mate, I come on with no script, no agenda, no prep. I just speak from my heart. However, that and bloody always, it upsets quite a few people. Can't please everyone. And you're spot on, mate. You can't please everyone. And the only time sorry, go on, Cal. I'm sorry.
And honestly, sometimes just the way you say something, sometimes people get upset, even if you're not even saying anything that controversial, honestly. Because I'm a pretty loud, passionate guy myself, and I might just upset someone just because of the way I say things, not necessarily of what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And
that's why conversation is important, because when you start being questioned, people delve a bit deeper and you probe. You end up going, because the amount of times I get this, I thought you were going to do this, or I thought you'd say that, or I didn't think you'd be respectful, or I didn't think you'd get what I was saying because I've been told this, or this. Like, have a conversation. It's the best way to do it. Listen, I want to thank every single person. I'm sorry to everyone who's backstage. There isn't enough time left on the show. I was only going to do an hour. We're an hour and 40 minutes in. So I want to thank you to everyone who's phoned in, super chatted, hit the like button, called in. You make the Football Terrace community what it is. We're back at 3:30 for Straight Facts with Don, Staffy, and Lawless back on the show today. This is redirecting you to my brother Hussam, so go and support his channel, please, people. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.